Hey there everybody, welcome back to another one of my budgeting videos. The plan for this video is to have it edited and uploaded on January 1st, 2026. So if I did make that happen, then welcome to the new year. I hope your New Year's Eve was a lot of fun and was filled with whatever adventures you wanted it to be filled with. And I wish all the best for all of us for 2026. Now, as you know from previous videos, I have decided this year to make my own budgeting book, not because there aren't really great ones out there on the market, there absolutely are, and I may quit this little project at some point during the year and just go and buy a book to see out the remainder of the year for however far I make it, but for now I've decided to make my own. One is because I don't want the expense of a book when I already have the supplies to sort of be able to put one together. Two is I always have to modify the books. There's never going to be a perfect budget planner. There's always going to be something in there I'm crossing out or covering up or just not utilizing. And I thought maybe I can make one where every page is a page that I'm actually using. Every section is a section that means something or matters to me and how I do my budget. And also, I guess I just wanted the challenge of it, which may come back to bite me in the butt. Now, I will be eventually putting everything into a binder, but this is still the rough draft. So this is video 2 of like my creating a budget book series. It's not a series, there's only going to be like 3 videos. And it's just sort of the pages in rough draft right now. I have a binder that I 100% am intending to use, but if you think I can remember where I have put the binder, you have much higher expectations for my memory than I do. It is not where I thought it was going to be, so now I don't even know where to look for it. Yeah, but that's okay because the next video, by the time I film the next video, hopefully I will have the binder, or if not, I will have something else in lieu of. My goal is to not be buying anything to go into the making of this book. I may down the road, it's very possible, but for right now, I'm trying to do it solely with things that I have, even if it means it's going to be a little bit awkward seeming or looking. I'm not intending for this to be like a Pinterest-worthy type of a project. It's really, I want it functional for me. So let me just go through the sheets with you, sort of explain the general layout of how I'm going to have the binder once I find the binder. And I would absolutely love any feedback that you have on the sheets. If you see something that you think is missing, or you see something that you think is ridiculous and I don't need it, whatever your feedback might be, because yeah, I've never done this before. So I just thought about my budgeting, what I use, what I need, but I could very well be missing something very obvious. And like I said, your feedback, I would absolutely love it. So this is going to be the sheet that I use every payday. It's clearly labeled the budget sheet. None of this is going to be like super shocking. So the date, for whatever the date of the payday was, these 2 columns here are for actually doing the budget. So the one column is going to be where I put my starting balance and then deduct out all my various bills and expenses all the way through. I don't think I'll ever need that many lines of information, but I wanted to have more than what I need rather than not enough. And then this section over here, this column is so that beside everything I can put what it is I'm deducting out of the budget. So, you know, like my line of credit payment, half month's rent, hydro, things like that. So this is something that I already do in my book right now, the one I've been using this year, and I've done this in every single budget that I've ever done, where I write it all out, every paycheck. So it's just a little bit more in a specific spot, and hopefully it might be a little bit tidier, because the way I write it now, I just repurpose a page in my budgeting book that is not intended for this, and so it's a little bit messy looking. Then over here on the side, I have my sinking funds and my cash. So this is like my digital cash envelopes. So my sinking funds, I pre-filled them in: car insurance, tenant insurance, tech, travel, presents, dragon boating, emergency fund, and total. And then cash is striker, groceries and household, fund, miscellaneous, transpo, and then the total. And then down here at the bottom, I have a box for notes, and that could be for anything. I often leave little notes on my budgeting page in the current book, and it can be about all sorts of things. A payment made to a Visa bill that is outside of like the regular budgeting money, or, you know, I'll make a note when I get like a GST rebate check, or really anything related to the budget that I just want to make a notation of to have it for record. I can put in this little box. I might also use it for writing down how much my check was. Maybe, I don't know. I don't do that reliably. There's some months when I write that down and some months when I don't. So I guess we'll find out if I start writing that in there. I'm only going to print out maybe 4 of these, and that will cover me for January and for February, because I want to see how I actually like using them and what I think needs to be changed as I'm using them, because I'm sure that there's going to be things in here I want to edit. I'm already thinking the tech sinking fund, I've actually split that up, because this sinking fund category is actually 3 separate things that I just lumped together for the ease of filling out my budget. And so I'm looking at this and I'm like, I could leave it as is because I know what it means and I know how to cross-reference it. But if I wanted it to be a little bit clearer, I would now have, instead of tech, I would have 3 lines for each of the individual things that fall under the tech umbrella. But again, I don't know, because then that sort of bumps everything down, and I don't know if they need their own. Maybe I'll just write in small beside the tech what the 3 are. It's a little bit messier, but it's functional, and I'm going for functional. As well as, I mean, okay, moderately cute, maybe. I don't know how to make things cute. I'm going to put some stickers on it, hopefully. So this is going to be the regular budget sheet that you'll see every payday and that I will be filling out. Now the next one is my monthly numbers. This page, or like the equivalent of this page, existed on every single month's budgeting pages in the book that I used in 2025, and I stopped filling it out because frankly my numbers, they don't change that much, and then even the numbers in the way that they don't change, they're not always going to be that. I'm not explaining that well. So what I mean is things like my rent, my cell, things like that, like, you know, like very specific bills that do not change a dollar amount. Sure, yeah, I can fill them in. I know exactly what it's going to be. But then I have, say, trying to think of something here. Okay, well, like my digital cash or even like my sinking funds, they are not set in stone. They should be. Some of them are. So say my car insurance, my tenant insurance, and here's the 3 that fall under tech: Microsoft 365, Norton Antivirus, and WordPress. Those are all set in stone bills. So those amounts won't change except for the fact that they are yearly expenses. So once a year they'll go up because everything goes up once a year. But the amount that I'm putting into them every paycheck doesn't change. Everything else, practically everything else I should say, is flexible. So my cash, Striker will always get his money, but groceries and household, I change it depending on how much money I actually have in the budget. If I don't have as much money, I'll cut my groceries to make everything else sort of like to help it work. Fun, miscellaneous, transportation, all of these things can fluctuate. Even what I put into President's Dragon Boating and my emergency fund can all fluctuate. So I will fill this out at the beginning of the year with sort of my best intentions or my hopes for what I can afford within my budget. And then reality will kick in at some point and I'll have a tight paycheck, or I'll have a tight couple of months, or just whatever is happening. And instead of being able to put $20 into President's Dragon Boating and emergency fund each, I'm finding that I'm putting nothing in for paychecks in a row, or maybe I'm putting $5 in or something like that. So these sheets come filled out with like a budgeted and an actual column usually. I never come back and fill in the actual. I fill in based on what I hope I'm going to be doing, but then I don't actually reference this page when I'm doing my budget for what amounts I need to plot into my budget for what I'm pulling out, because it's very much based on what I can afford on that paycheck. So having said all of that, I did fill in some of it, as you can see. The digital cash amounts I filled in, honestly, I don't know why I did that, except they are pretty standard for what I wish that I could be doing. So I guess they are correct. I didn't fill in the sinking funds. That was really just a mistake on my part for not going back in after I'd made the document and filling in the actual numbers. It's okay. I can handwrite some parts of this and type in parts of it. I'm not going to print out another piece of paper with using all the ink and another piece of the actual paper itself, just because, or like just so that then I have these parts typed in versus printed in by my own handwriting. I'm not about that. So it does not bother me if it's a mixture of my writing and computer font. So if it bothers you though, I'm very sorry for your viewing displeasure as I use this. But I do have some other things filled in, right? So rent, my cell, tenant insurance, BC Hydro, and water. And I've mentioned beside them if it's a monthly or a bi-weekly expense. Tenant insurance, I just put sinking funds, like sinking funds, because some of the things are going to crossover. Is that, yeah, I guess, like, do you know what I mean? Like in my old one, in the page that I had for this equivalent in my old book, I was finding that things in my sinking fund and things in my digital cash were crossing over into like other sections. And so I was kind of double charging myself or double counting against my budget, you could say. I don't really use the page in that function. So it didn't end up doing that. Like it didn't cause me any numerical problems, but I am trying to be a little bit more clear with it this time. So tenant insurance, I'm not writing in the amount there because it's actually falling under my sinking funds because that's where I count it when I'm doing my budget. Does that make sense? I do have a little section here for upcoming changes / notes. This I will probably add to as the year goes on. So far I have parking at work. Eventually I will be transitioning back into the office and I'm going to have to pay for parking. A Wi-Fi bill starting in August or September. When I moved in here, I got as a promotion a year's free Wi-Fi with Rogers, but that will end for September. So I'll have to start paying in September of 2026 for my internet. I put a possible rent increase for September just because probably, I'm assuming at the year mark of my lease, they will raise the rent. I mean, why wouldn't they? And then I put possible job loss in spring because there's a possibility that I will lose my job in spring. So we'll talk about that on another video. But so these are the things that I could think of off the top of my head that might be changing in the coming year. And anything else that happens, I can always add it in. So this, I'm going to fill it in one time for the beginning of the year. And then only when there are like 3 or more things that are being changed on here in a permanent fashion will I print out another one with new numbers on it and then slot it into the budget somewhere. Right now, this is just going to live at the front of the binder. So I imagine when I make a new version of it, maybe I'll put like a version 2 or the date that I updated it, something like that to help distinguish it from the original. And then maybe I'll just keep it in the same section of the binder as the first one so that I always know where to reference back to them. But yeah, so these are my monthly numbers. This, I'm trying for something a little bit more fun and whimsical, so bear with me here. It's one version of my line of credit debt payoff tracker. So my main goal for 2026 is still, as it has been for 2025, to get as much of my line of credit paid down as humanly possible. I'm really hoping to make big strides with it. So I thought I will still be doing, let me show you. Underneath, I'll still be doing my regular debt payoff tracker like the one I used for 2025 because I really liked this. I really liked just having it at a glance for the whole year, being able to see what month we're in, the opening balance of it, the closing, the minimum monthly payment, and the total paid off so far in the year. Because the opening balance, closing balance, and minimum monthly payment all get smaller as the year goes by, and the total paid off this year gets bigger as the year goes by. And I find it very satisfying to look at this and motivating, I suppose, because every time I fill it in at the end of the month and I see the change in the numbers and I see, you know, how much we're at based on where we started, it's just, I'm a visual person. For me, this really helped. But I also wanted to do something, like I said, a little bit more whimsical. So I came up with this, and what I'm going to do is every month after the billing cycle has closed and the line of credit has all of like the updated information and whatnot, and so my charges to the line of credit, which are like the interest and the disability premium. So I don't use the line of credit to buy things. It's just like interest and the disability premium in case something happens because it's such a big debt. Those get charged on. So say I pay $400 to the line of credit, but then all of those charges, the interest and the disability, are $50. And these are not real numbers. I'm just using ones that I can actually calculate in my head. Then that means in actuality, in that month, I paid $350 to the line of credit. So I'm going to put whatever that final number is in the appropriate month's starburst. Now, I know compound interest is a thing. I don't know how to calculate for compound interest. So I'm just going very, very simple basic math. How much I paid minus the charge to the line of credit is how much I have paid for that month. And that's just what I'm focusing on in this sheet. And then in the next one, it's the exact same one like I already talked about that I had for the year 2025. I didn't print them out yet, but I am also going to be using those little sheets that I was using in 2025 for each individual month with a little bit more data in there, just because I like them. I like having that extra data because on that one I also track the interest rate, the disability premium charge, and oh, sorry, yeah, the interest rate. But what I was thinking of was the interest charges, but the actual interest, or like interest rate. Oh, wow, am I getting muddled? I'm so sorry. I track more data on that little sheet, and I will be printing them out and putting them with each individual month. I just haven't printed them out yet. So that is how I will be tracking my debt payoff. And then all of these they all look the same. They're just different colors. So these are going to be how I am tracking my sinking funds. So a lot of my sinking funds share bank accounts. I'm trying to think, like, okay, well, my car insurance, does that share with anything? I think that might be the only one that doesn't share with anything. So it's not a great example to have on top. Okay, tenant insurance. My tenant insurance sinking fund is it's just like a simple savings account with Scotiabank. But every paycheck, I put half a month's rent also into this savings account because I need to put it somewhere so that I have rent ready for when it is time to pay rent. I also put every paycheck, my contribution towards my BC Hydro bill and to my water bill into this same savings account, because in my head they're all categorized in the same way because they're all under the umbrella of home expenses, and I need to put the money somewhere so that it's not sitting in my regular checking account and I don't accidentally spend it. It does mean though that when I take a quick glance at the balance of this particular savings account, I don't actually know just from looking at it how much money I have saved towards my tenant insurance because there's other money sitting in there. And so it's, I just have to rely that my calculations were correct. And by the time my tenant insurance comes up for being due for renewal, that the amount of money that I have in there will be enough to cover it with the leftover, because the leftover, of course, belongs to the BC Hydro and the water bill. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So I'm just trying to find a better, like a more specific way for tracking all of the individual ones, mostly because I need to divvy out the ones that are lumped together. Another one I have are Dragon Boating and Presents. They are in the same sinking fund only because I had to combine some things and I didn't know what to combine, so I just combined these two. They're not related to each other at all. So I've run into problems with this one all the time. I put money in. Generally, I put in the same amount for each of the sinking funds on the same date. So say I'm able to put $20 per sinking fund on my paycheck, like on, when I'm doing my budget. So the account in general gets $40. So in theory, that whatever the total balance is in that account, say it's $400, $200 belongs to Presents and $200 belongs to Dragon Boating. But that never happens. I always pull more to go towards one category than the other without really realizing it or not realizing how much I might be doing that. So I constantly either run out of money for Presents because I've had Dragon Boating expenses, and then all of a sudden like birthdays are coming up and I don't have any money to pull from, so I'm using my credit card to buy people presents, or vice versa. I need money for Dragon Boating and there's not really all that much in the account, and it's because I was using it to buy presents, say at Christmas time. So it's a balancing act, and I was not very good this past year at properly tracking the individual contributions and withdrawals for each of these two categories when they're in the same account. It's not as big of a deal when it's something that's in its own bank account, like in its own savings account that it isn't sharing with anything, because I know all the money in that account belongs to that sinking fund. But when they're shared, and I'm going to be continuing to share them, I need a better system. So I have these more detailed forms. I will figure out, I'm going to have to sit down and do the numbers, and I will figure out for all of the accounts that have things shared how much I'm allotting to each of the categories under that account, because frankly at this point some of them I'll actually have to calculate out, but other ones it's just going to be a little bit of a guess. I'll give them a starting balance for January of 2026, and then I am just going to fill it out exactly as it shows. So this will be a pay date, and then my deposit and how much I'm giving this particular one, and then I'm going to keep a running tally of the new balance. Now, these will not be tracking the interest that gets charged in those savings accounts, and so occasionally I earn like a couple pennies or something. I'm just ignoring those. But then also, whenever I'm withdrawing money to purchase a present, or let's be real, I've purchased the present on my Visa card and now I have to pay off the Visa card, I'm also going to be able to put in here minus $50 and a little comment about like, the 50 will go there, sorry, but minus $50 Nicole's birthday or something like that, and then how much I should pull that, and then the new balance. So I will be able to keep track of the deposits and the withdrawals of each of the different categories. Some of them, this is going to be a little bit overkill because I'm not going to be withdrawing all that much. I'm just trying to think of one. Car insurance, I suppose. Yeah, okay. Car insurance isn't really going to have a lot of action besides deposits. My car insurance is due somewhere in the summer. I can never remember if it's June or July because both of those months in my head are the same because they're J's and they have 4 letters. But this one is just going to be deposit, 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 deposit until I get to when my car insurance is actually due. I pay for that on my credit card because I get points, and then I immediately pay off the credit card. So it'll be one really big withdrawal, and then I'm going to start it all over again. Now, each of these is going to need additional pages printed out eventually, but I'm waiting and I'm going to print them out when I need them instead of doing it in advance, because some of them are going to need them sooner than others, and I don't just want to blanket print out, say, 3 for each category. If maybe one category ends up only needing 2, I want to save the paper and the ink as much as humanly possible. And I know I sound like a broken record with that, like, I don't want to use too much paper, I don't want to use too much ink, but it matters to me. And I guess I figured if I'm going to all the bother of making my own budgeting book, and one of the reasons is hopefully to be able to actually save money by making it versus buying it, although one could argue the cost of supplies versus the cost, like the one-time cost of a book, but I'm not that math oriented, so I'm not doing those calculations. But I'm just hoping to be a little bit more eco-friendly with it, I suppose, and a little bit more money-friendly to my budget. Now, you may have noticed there's no calendar page. I love to have a calendar for every single month, and I was going to actually find a printable calendar template and print out a calendar, but I wasn't really seeing anything that I liked, and then I realized I could do this. So my brother takes amazing pictures. It is not his job. He just is very invested in his hobby, and he gave me a calendar for the coming year, and it's all pictures that he has taken. So you can see here, it's a Northern Harrier Great Gray Owl. Sure, he's adorable. I think he's adorable. And of course, as with all good calendars, it's got a lovely, nice big page. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to tuck it into the front of the binder that I will be dedicating to the budgeting book. And then I will fill this in with each month for when my bills are due, when my rent, paydays, all of that stuff, all the stuff I normally put on the calendar is going to be going into this calendar. And so not only will I get to use the calendar, because I was very lucky and I got gifted 2 calendars this year. So this one from my brother, and then I also got one from my uncle that's got cats on it, but it's much bigger. This one will be more likely to fit into a binder. This, by the way, is a bobcat. Look at the little ears. Oh, anything that is any version of a cat, I just want to smush. But yeah, so I have a cat calendar as well. So that one is larger, won't fit into a binder. I'm going to put that one on my fridge. And so this one will be perfect to use in the binder with my budget. It saves me from buying a calendar, because I was going to buy some kind of a little one just to put in there. And it saves me from having to print out all the pages for a calendar. And it is a lovely reminder of my brother every time I'll be using it. So these are the rough draft pages and ideas that I have for my budget so far. This is a ladder-backed woodpecker. I just thought woodpeckers had bigger beaks. Anyways, you'll see all the pictures as we go through the year. But what do you think? What do you think of my my rough draft for my budgeting book template, I guess? I don't know what to call it, but just, the pages that I have. There's the debt payoff trackers and the monthly numbers and the budget sheet. And I would really love to get feedback from you, to hear what you have to say. If you think I am being utterly ridiculous and should just go out and buy a book, absolutely say that, because maybe I'm being crazy thinking that I can do this. But if you think that with a couple little tweaks, it could be better, I would also love to hear that. Just any feedback you have would be very much appreciated. I'm gonna go. Thank you so very much for following along with this video. The next time you see all these pages, unless I've completely just given it up and I've gone and bought a budgeting book, they will be in a binder, and we will actually be using them for my first paycheck in January. I don't get paid in January until the second weekend of January. I'm trying to think, wait, calendar. I just realized I'm trying to figure out, yeah, so the 9th. I don't get paid until the 9th, so I won't actually be working, like using these sheets until the 9th, which is good because it gives me some more time to tweak and to fix things and find the binder. That really is gonna bug me until I figure out where I've put it. I hope I didn't get rid of it. But yeah, so anyways, feedback would be very much appreciated. And also I would love to hear what you're doing for your budgeting book in 2026. Are you making your own? Do you use like a much more simplistic version, like just like a notepad or a notebook and a pen, and you don't go all crazy like I'm doing? Do you have like a really good budgeting book that you found that you're just like, this is my jam for the 2026 year? Like, would love to hear about it. So I hope all of you are having a really great 2026 so far. I know it's only just started, but let's hope that it's starting off with a happy bang, not a scary or a sad bang. We want good things for this year. I will talk to all of you in the next video. Stay safe, everybody. Bye.